So that debate was a bunch of BS. I mean, was this a debate between Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, or a debate between Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris versus the moderators? Because the moderators were literally debating Trump and even fact-checking him. They were like, Trump, it says right here, like, that's not correct. We got a piece of paper from a manager that says, like, that's not correct. But they didn't even care to fact check Kamala Harris on the propaganda Project 2025. Yeah, it was very biased. It was so biased. And this is exactly why he has my vote. This is exactly why I'm voting for him. And y'all also noticed how Kamala Harris left her accent outside. Just so fake, disingenuous, phony, very
Trump supporters are up in arms right now as ABC News has just exposed itself. Not like they haven't done it before, but this time around, they're actually doing it to our faces. The bias with the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris was astounding. And as you guys heard, the moderators were debating with Trump on television. It was a clear 3v1, although Donald Trump still took it because VP Harris won't debate him on other networks. Some conservatives on X said that it is possible that Kamala Harris was provided with the questions before the debate even started, stating that the VP had polished, refined answers at the ready without even having to think about them. Now, at this point, it's kind of up in the air as to who actually won this debate. Harris, though, did prove that she's better than Biden, even though almost anyone can surpass his disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump. Now, what's weird is that she's already asking for a rematch. Now, if you won, why would you ask for a rematch? This is one of the many reasons for why many people are saying Kamala Harris lost the debate against Trump. Now, President Trump said that he's not committing to a second one at the moment, especially since he feels that he already won, even comparing himself to an underdog who fought a prize fighter, saying that when prize fighters lose, they immediately want another. But what are the people saying about this debate? Many found her facial expressions to be very telling, and they also could not help but to notice that she is still, in fact, the vice president of this country right now. And guys, before we get started, all I ask is that you take a second, hit the like button for the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to join us over in our free Patreon community. There's a link in the description down below. It takes about 5 seconds to join the rest of us. I post early content over there and videos that I just can't post here.
I think it's important to remember that we are voting for the leader of our country and not who we like the most or who we want in our wedding party, but who is actually going to make our country better. And we're in an incredibly unique situation where we've had both of the candidates in office before, and we've gotten to see what they would do. And when facts come to facts, my life was better when Trump was in office. The economy was higher, inflation was lower, things were better overall. And now with Kamala's administration, things haven't been so fantastic. And she's saying she can fix the problems that her administration has caused, but I just don't know if I can afford to take that risk.
And this is what the decision of millions will come down to. When was life better? Was it under Trump or was it under Harris? And it's good to see that some voters are being logical about this decision, even though ABC News chose to go down a path of no return. They literally did not even try to hide the fact that they were helping Kamala Harris throughout this entire debate, especially when it came to key issues where the VP had suddenly changed her mind. Now, I'm not sure if she just forgot where her positions were just a few years ago, but funnily enough, even ABC News forgot all about them. So here's David Muir asking her about gun bans back during her first presidential run, and then compare it to what she said in the debate.
In recent days, former Vice President Biden has said about executive orders, some really talented people are seeking the nomination. They said, I'm going to issue an executive order. Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
And yes, we can. This business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
I support buybacks, and it's something I'm so passionate about and so looking forward to being president to address. We've got to deal with this.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory.
Stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
And yet David Muir conveniently forgot that Harris said this. All the while, both he and Lindsey Davis were pushing back on what most of Donald Trump was saying. And Megyn Kelly created a compilation of this clear bias.
Let me just show you a little of the fact checking that was done of Donald Trump in short form. Watch.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But here you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community. As a clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing.
Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself.
And now I am going to play a quick shot of ABC News fact-checking Kamala. Yeah, that didn't happen.
And I kind of fell for that last part because I waited for her to show at least one time where Harris was fact-checked. But the debate was handed to her on a silver platter. It was absolutely horrifying to see this play out in real time. And for people to say that this was a fair and leveled playing field, it is just insanity. But even with her advantages, her team just couldn't prepare her for the truth. Because you can have the moderators and the network in your pocket. You can be given the questions before the debate. But none of that matters if you can't answer a simple question about the economy. But before I even comment on what the VP said here, did you guys notice what David Muir said? He said the quiet part out loud because he said that Harris and Trump won 4 years ago. Slip of the tongue, maybe? Was that a Freudian slip? And what bothers a lot of voters about her question here is that she's been in power for the last 3.5 years. Actually, it's more than 3.5 years, come to think of it. If she says that the economy was so awful under Trump, then why wasn't this opportunity economy introduced back when they won? Why? Well, it's because talk is cheap. We can be promised so many things that we need. And yet a majority of voters feel as if Donald Trump is the only guy who actually delivered on the economy and the cost of living. And her answer here is what she doesn't want circling the internet. She wants this off of social media. Harris absolutely hates that she got this question because it just proves how inefficient that they are at their jobs. And I just want to show you the most viral clip about this whole debate. One that Harris wanted for herself, but failed in doing so.
Different policies, like she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. And, you know, whether it's Donald Trump that ends up winning the election or if it's Kamala Harris, oh, God, we're in a world of a pickle, as my grandfather would say. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And it's kind of funny because where I used to work with a lot of married men. And a lot of those married men would always complain about their spouses as if they really just didn't even like their spouses, which is sounding like a pretty horrible situation. But that was the case for many of them. They didn't like who they were married to. But I was different. Anyway, through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now.
Harris was hoping for Trump to hit that legal pothole in October, and now legally Trump has a clear road ahead. Reality is setting in, and Obama world is telling Democrats not to get your hopes up. They say it's very possible that if the election were held today, Trump would win. That's what we've been telling you. Democrat numbers guru Nate Silver says stop ignoring the elephant in the room. Quote, the Electoral College is starting to look like a challenge for Kamala.
What's your reaction to Judge Merchan moving it? You are?
I am stunned. Look, this is a judge who at every turn ruled against Donald Trump. Yeah. This is a judge who allowed prejudicial evidence to come in, evidence that had nothing to do with the underlying charge. And speaking of the underlying charge, most of it is expired pursuant to the statute of limitations, bootstrapped and resurrected by another crime that the jury didn't have to really identify. And there's a lot of hearsay and there's some privileged information. Then in the interim is a Supreme Court decision that came out in July that said, hey, you have to separate immunity or immunize and privilege testimony from the underlying essence of the crimes in this case. And now all of a sudden, Judge Merchan is saying, well, I don't want to be political here. I think it's time that we took note of the fact that we're in a presidential election season. Are you kidding me? This is a political decision made by a judge who said, you know what? This is a close election. I'm not going to give Donald Trump any kind of advantage here. That's my interpretation. Based upon a judge who did everything he could. Even the verdict sheet in this case is not, you can't understand it. I've never seen anything like it. And so now suddenly the DA, Martha, agrees. The DA says, we're not going to object to his sentencing. They want to throw him in jail, but they know that this is a case that will go in Trump's favor, and they don't want that to happen.
Judge Jeannie Pirro makes a very good point here. It's either they don't want to add even more momentum to Donald Trump's run, or this judge is trying to get off the radar of Donald Trump, given how his own daughter has worked with top Democrats. So now they choose to acknowledge that Donald Trump is running for president. And it's like he predicted what was going to happen. Earlier this year, this is what the former president had to say about this case.
Attorney General. The judge is obviously extremely friendly with the group, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe he may surprise people on a positive side. We'll have to see what happens exactly.
And as we can now see, a lot of people are surprised. It's like an admission that there's a high chance that Donald Trump wins in November. Putting Trump in jail right now would only make the chances of that happening go even higher. He would also be hailed as the modern day Nelson Mandela. And by then, the people of this country would be made fully aware of the truth, that all of the cases against Donald Trump have been politically motivated.
Here with reaction, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Ted, Senator, you're feeling the brunt of this in Texas. You see what she's doing. She's running. She's hiding. She's trying to run out the clock. And now she says no tax on tips. And meanwhile, she was the tie-breaking vote that empowered the IRS to go after service workers. She said the border was secure. She said that inflation was transitory. Now she's going to, on day one, fix inflation, fix the border, and solve all our problems?
Well, look, Kamala is running a fundamentally dishonest campaign. You referenced just there day one. Day one was 4 years ago. Part of what's fundamentally dishonest about the campaign is she's pretending that she's not the sitting vice president. She's pretending that Joe Biden is not currently the president of the United States, that these problems are all of her own making, that the inflation we have is because of the wild spending and debt that she and Joe Biden and the Democrats did. The open borders, she's been the border czar for 4 years. This invasion is her fault. Not only her fault, but she wanted it. Listen, I've served with Kamala for years in the Senate. She has consistently been the most left-wing senator. She's voted for open borders over and over and over again. And now, this entire election, she's trying to pretend her record doesn't exist. Sean, it's why she doesn't do media interviews. It's why she won't answer questions, because they are very cynically trying to hide her in the basement. I think it's Joe Biden's basement.
Man, I wish I could hear Kamala Harris answer all these allegations, like in a real press conference or something, right? But as Senator Ted Cruz says, it looks like they're hiding in Joe Biden's basement. And like my uncle said, guys, time to end the dictatorship by voting for Trump Vance. I mean, even my friends from Canada have told me to go ahead and get Trump and please come save him. They say that if they stop him from being president again, all Canadians and Americans should stand together in order to stop communism and the agendas that they want to bring in. You know what I'm saying, guys? What do y'all think? I mean, it's no coincidence that even former Democrats have switched sides to endorse former President Donald Trump. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and now Gloria Romeo, who served as the state Senate Majority Leader for 3 years of her more than 10-year stint in Sacramento, slammed the current state of her former party. In her words, I am now another near lifelong Democrat who's joining the growing number of people who are leaving the Democratic Party. Today, I joined the Republican Party to make America great again, and I'm ready to do my part as America prepares to vote. Wow, guys. Now, according to the newly converted politician, she could not stand by as Democrats took a giant leap toward authoritarianism and censorship. She talked about how terrifying it is to see language that has been modified so that as a feminist and a former professor, she would be condemned for saying that she can define a woman and distinguish between biological sex and gender identity. She talked about being pro-choice, but not supporting a party that advocates for abortion to full term. She also said that the Republican Party has become the party of peace, while the Democrats have marched toward endless war. She also took aim at the green movement within the Democratic Party as she voiced her opposition to regulations on appliances. She said that as a Latina, she will not give up her gas stove, and I'm with her on that. No electric stove for me. She also added that you cannot toast a tortilla on an electric range. Duh. Romeo said that she had been a delegate to the Democratic National Convention for both Jesse Jackson and Senator Barack Obama, and that many Latinos and Latinas are leaving the party for very similar reasons. And so this is why, standing on the steps of the state capitol in Sacramento, Romeo proudly declared that she will vote for Donald Trump this fall. The Democratic Party has experienced blow after blow these past few weeks, as many former members have been declaring their alliances to former President Donald Trump. They're also getting battered by nonstop controversies. Just recently, it was brought up again how one of the prosecutors targeting Donald Trump has major connections to the Obamas. Now, I'm talking about no other than Special Counsel Jack Smith. Jack Smith is a career prosecutor who was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland and is responsible for overseeing 2 pre-existing Justice Department criminal investigations into former President Donald Trump. One regarding Donald Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol attack, and the other into alleged mishandling of government records, including classified documents. Well, guys, it turns out Jack Smith is married to a documentary filmmaker who worked on a 2020 film about former First Lady Michelle Obama and donated to President Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. So what do you guys think about that? Now, I did a previous video where I covered the debate in a lot more detail. I also discussed the desperation of the Harris campaign as they're now begging for a second debate against Donald Trump. Make sure you guys watch that video out right after this one. As always, thanks for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Join us over in our free Patreon community. I've left the link for you guys in the description down below this video. It takes about 5 seconds to join us. You'll get to see content that I just cannot release here. You'll also get early access to my videos. Anyway, I'll see y'all over there.